In this lecture, we'll touch on some of the smaller but still influential civilizations from this time period. So I'm going to draw your attention away from Mesopotamia and away from Egypt, where we spent the first two sections, and focus it in on this area here. We'll be discussing the Phoenicians and the Israelites. The Phoenicians were a trading people. They built very impressive, very effective ships, and they created this extensive trading sort of network empire. They had a bunch of colonies all throughout the Mediterranean, all in North Africa. They were a very important people kind of after the Egyptian empire started being less powerful, and before the next two that we'll get to tomorrow, before the next two big empires arise in the region, they kind of fill the gap, and they're very important in this in-between time. The thing the Phoenicians are most remembered for today is an alphabet that they made. They made the alphabet that you see right here, and that alphabet was passed on to the Greeks. Languages evolve. We'll discuss this in class, but languages sort of evolve and change over the years, and this one is no different. Over time, this is the alphabet that's sort of the granddaddy, if you want to call it that, of Greek, which itself informed the language of the Romans, which itself eventually sort of becomes the alphabet that we use today. So if you can sort of see or imagine that you see any similarities here between the Phoenician alphabet in the columns on the left and our own alphabet on the right, they're not super imaginary. This eventually becomes this. This letter over time, you can see sort of shifts and changes into that. The manner in which languages change and evolve is very complicated, and it's a whole field of study on its own, but it is interesting and at the very least notable, something you should remember, that the Phoenicians made the alphabet that in a way is the great-granddaddy of the alphabet that you use in this class. So that's about Phoenicia, which was up here, but now let's move just a little bit further south and talk about the kingdom of Israel. Israel as a kingdom was, I'm going to call it a minor political force. That's not super fair because, they certainly mattered and a lot of people lived there, but from the scope of this course, which is trying to fit in, most of human history into just one semester, this is probably a kingdom that we would skip if all that mattered was, the people that they taxed and the kings that they had. What's notable about them is they created a world religion that still exists today that's known as Judaism. The political history of ancient Israel can be summed up quite quickly. It exists, it's divided in two for a period of time, and eventually it is conquered by larger empires. It doesn't grow into this gigantic political empire that conquers all of Western Asia. But even after Israel and the Judea, even after this area is conquered, the religion of Judaism endures. The people from there, even when they're scattered about these, larger empires, the people maintain their religion, and the religion survives the political conflict of the time, even the conquering of Israel. One of the things that made the Jewish religion somewhat unique amongst the ancient religions at the time is that the Jewish people were monotheistic. Now, monotheistic is the opposite of the vocabulary word we did the other day, polytheistic, mono meaning one. Monotheistic means the belief in one God. This was in contrast, again, to a lot of the major religions of the day. The modern-day religions of Christianity and Islam did not exist yet at this period in history, so this, not 100% unique, but very, very unique at the time to only believe in one God. Not to believe that there was many gods who sort of, conflicted with one another and stuff, but to just believe in one, and that was and is the belief of the Jewish people. And one other thing I'd like you to note is that Judaism had written holy books. Their holy stories, their religious texts were written down. And that's significant because that's different from some of the polytheistic religions that were practiced, say, by Hammurabi. In those religions, in many contemporary religions, that is to say, many religions that existed at the same time as this one, the only way you could know what the gods wanted from you was to talk to one of the priests or one of the holy men. If you were in Babylonia and you wanted to know what Shemesh thought, you needed to talk to one of the priests who would then commune with the god and would tell you. Whereas in Judaism, they had written down laws that were available to anyone who could read them, and that also was a significant change. And that'll do it for today. For these, in terms of these smaller civilizations at the time, all I'd really like you to know is the Phoenicians and the Israelites. Know them, know the major points about them, and you will be fine.